Have you ever come across the word corporatocracy before? I hadn't heard the word used before until quite recently when I overheard a conversation some students were having in a cafe. This is from Wikipedia. Corporatocracy is an imprecise pejorative term describing a situation in which corporate bodies interact with sovereign power in an unhealthy alignment between business and political power. It is a negative term likened pejoratively to cancer, fascism, and Orwellianism, perhaps because, according to this view, business/government ties are seen as secretive, lacking transparency and accountability. Corporatocracy is viewed as anti-democratic or opposed to democracy. While there appears to be no definitive evidence who coined the term corporatocracy, the term was used by author John Perkins in his 2004 book Confessions of an Economic Hitman, where he described corporatocracy as a collective composed of corporations, banks, and governments. Perkins describes the role of an economic hitman as follows. Economic hitmen are highly paid professionals who cheat countries around the globe out of trillions of dollars. They funnel money from the World Bank, the US Agency for International Development, and other foreign aid organizations into the coffers of huge corporations and the pockets of a few wealthy families who control the planet's natural resources. Their tools included fraudulent financial reports, rigged elections, payoffs, extortion, sex, and murder. They play a game as old as empire, but one that has taken on new and terrifying dimensions during this time of globalization. Well, I've not read the book myself, but it sounds very interesting and it comes highly recommended. Yeah. I'll read you a little bit of an interview John Perkins did with Daniel McLeod for Z magazine back in late 2005 here. Daniel McLeod asks, "You place economic hitmen in a long line of imperial agents, including Roman centurions, Spanish conquistadors, and 18th and 19th century colonial powers. All of these approaches relied on military force, but economic hitmen are different. Can you recount the origins of this strategy for empire building?" John Perkins answers, "I really think it came out of our supposed success in Iran in the early 1950s. The Iranians had democratically elected a president, Mossadegh, and he began to clamp down on the oil companies, insisting that they pay fair taxes so the people of Iran would be recompensed for the oil being taken out of their country. The British and the US were involved there, and our oil companies were very resentful of this, so we decided to get rid of Mossadegh. We figured that we could not send in troops because Iran was bordering the Soviet Union. Rather than sending in troops, we sent a CIA agent, Kermit Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt's grandson. With a few $1,000,000, Kermit managed to overthrow the democratically elected Mossadegh and replace him with the Shah of Iran, who we all know was a despot and a friend of the oil companies. This experience taught the people in charge what I refer to as the corporatocracy, that creating empire by using agents like Roosevelt was a lot cheaper and safer than the old military model. The only problem was that Roosevelt was a CIA agent, and had he been discovered, the US government would have been very embarrassed, to say the least. Soon after that, the decision was made to employ people from private businesses, making it difficult to trace these activities back to Washington. This is a really good little interview, in my opinion. Very informative and insightful. You can view it on the site www.thirdworldtraveler.com. I recommend you go check it out. Also, there's a good article on www.politicaldick.org called "Enemy is a Global Corporatocracy" by Naomi Wolf. Well worth a look too. Naomi Wolf is a Democratic activist who was arrested in New York last year during the Occupy protests. She's also an author and a feminist. Do a Google search and you'll find out a lot more about her. Anyway, I will catch you later, folks. Take care of yourselves.